Foster, and I'm the Reading Course Secretary for EFC-MAYM Friends Women. And today I'm going to present to you the 2018 Friends Women books. So be excited because they're really good reads. First, we're going to start out in the missions category. The first book is Missions Unmasked, What I Never Knew About Missionary Life, and it's written by Mosley. Now this book is amazing. First of all, you're going to go, oh, we're doing a good job, and you are doing a really good job, Friends Women. And it's going to sharpen your iron. Iron sharpens iron. So it's going to give you new perspectives and new ideas about how to support your missionaries and how we do missions in a healthy manner. So, really good read. The author is a pastor in a church in Kenya, and he has people in his church from over 5 continents and lots of different countries. So he is a minister to missionaries themselves too, so he kind of sees both directions. So he approaches this book in a manner that it's like what I didn't know about missions, and then what I thought I knew about missions, and then what I didn't know that I didn't know about missions. So that's very good. So read it. The next book is Where the Cross Meets the Street, and it's the subtitle is What Happens to the Neighborhood When God is at the Center. This book is by Noel Castellanos, and he is a Latino. He's a Hispanic. He is born from Mexican American parents. He was born in the U.S. in Texas. His parents were migrant field farm workers, and so he moved around a lot as a kid. And then, as he got older, he eventually landed up in California, and he became educated and went to college, and he became a Christian, and he didn't know anybody in leadership who looked like him, so he didn't think people like him could be leaders. Well, he turned that paradigm around and understood that he could become one, even if there wasn't anyone that looked like him yet, to be a leader. So he became a leader. He was called, him and his wife, they were called to church, ministry in neighborhoods, and so and working with churches and stuff. And so he does a lot of missional incarnational stuff through that. So he talks about reaching the marginalized people and the languishing poor. And so in our communities, there are a lot of people who are down on their luck or really just trying really hard and are having troubles. And so he talks about 4 different principles of the incarnational principles. There's first proclamation and formation, when you're telling people about Jesus. 2, there's demonstration and compassion. You have to have that for people to hear you. Then there's 3, restoration and development. So you're restoring the community and you're building them up. And then 4, confrontation of injustice, which sounds very Quaker, you might think, and it is true. And it's very paradigm shifting, it's inspiring, and it's very educational. So we'll want to read this. Okay, our next category is Biography or Christian Life. And our first book is called Seeking Allah, Finding Jesus. It's by Nabeel, Qureshi. And oh my goodness, ladies, this is a really good read. Now, this is a devout Muslim. He was born in the U.S. To Pakistani immigrants. And his dad was with the U.S. military, and so they traveled around a lot. But he was born a Muslim. His parents are obviously Muslim. It's ministry and his life story. So this one is amazing because, oh my goodness, you will never know things about Muslims that you didn't know about unless you read this or you know a Muslim actually in person. And so the first part of this book is very pro-Muslim because that's the way he was born and that's the way he grew up. But towards the end, he has a friend on the debate team, and his friend is a Christian, and this is his first Christian friend that he has. And so they debate about Muslim and ideas and ideology, and then they debate about Christian ideas and their theology. And so they have so many good conversations. And throughout this book, you're like, this next chapter, he's going to accept Jesus. And then you're like, oh my goodness, it's this next chapter, he's going to accept Jesus. And you're like, he comes to this crisis point where he has to decide what he believes. And he's defending his faith through the whole time because he believes that Islam is the way and that Muhammad and Allah are the way to go and everywhere else is wrong. And so it approaches through different, the things that Muslims believe about Christians that aren't true. And it also approaches things that we may not know about Muslims to help our relationship better. The thing about this book, and you want to get this copy, is because there's an older version and it doesn't have the epilogue at the end. And you want the epilogue at the end because you want to know, like, how did his life turn out after he accepted Jesus? What happened next? So you want that information. And at the second half of this book, or probably the last quarter, it talks about, for all of you intellectuals out there who want to know about the theology and the different viewpoints that Nabeel was going and searching for and defending. So, amazing read. It will help you understand a different culture and a different faith and help you defend your own. Laura's Stories When God Doesn't Fix It. How many of you know that song Blessings that was written by Laura Story? Oh my goodness, so good. And so this book that she wrote about is that song came about through her husband's brain tumor, and then the treatment for that, the surgery, and then like crisis and different health problems that he had to go to and the repercussions of that. And so it's her story and how she deals with that. And you know, we all know somebody who has a health crisis. Maybe it's you, maybe it's a friend or a family member. Somebody in your church is probably going through some hard time. So this book really helps you in that. And she gives a perspective as a wife, she gives a perspective as a mom, and she always points it back to God. So even though God may not change your circumstances, He can change your heart on the inside and make your perspective a little bit different. Really good. Okay, the next category is Quakers / classics. The first book I'm going to show you is Quakers. Now, a lot of you read Fruit the Vine, so you may recognize the name Lori Elliott. Lori Elliott writes for Fruit of the Vine, and that's how I heard about her, because one of you ladies recommended her to me. So this is your lighthearted novel. Well, it's not a fiction story. This is her life, and it's very lighthearted. It's your humorous anecdote to some of these grave, you know, life problems. So this is her life. She's a pastor and a pastor's wife, and she has 3 kids, one of which has disabilities. He's autistic, and so they have different hard time communicating with him and understanding what he's trying to say too. But there's so many lighthearted stories of what her kids, she has twins, running around doing and learning about life, and it's just a good read. It'll help your spirit and make you laugh, which we all do. Okay, your classic book has to be 25 years or older and has to be reprinted recently so we can all read it, and it has to be applicable today. So for this year I chose Corrie ten Boom's The Hiding Place. A lot of you know Corrie ten Boom or have heard of her or are familiar with her, but for you young whippersnappers out there who may not know, she worked during World War II. She was in the Dutch resistance movement, and she helped the Jews in her area hide, as well as be fed with food, the stamp booklets, and hide them. And so it's her story of her life working in her father's watch shop, and then just how God called her little by little to do something about what was going on around her. So she writes about her stay in the concentration camps, and she has some challenges for us that are good to think about and applicable still today, and really good read, of course. That's why I picked it. Okay, fiction books, ladies. I have high standards for fiction. This first one is called Land of Silence. It's by Tessa Afshar. Oh my goodness, you're gonna love this book, because this book is a fictionalized account of the woman who bled for many, many years and then touched the hem of Jesus' robe and then was healed. And so the author has taken this biblical account that was like in 4 verses and then thought, what would the history be back on what she was going through in her life? Because this is the only place where Jesus calls women daughter. And so this is amazing. You won't think about this lady the same. And it's just captivating. You won't want to put it down. Warning, you'll want to keep reading. So So she has created this character to be one where she deals with guilt from an early age, and she feels like she doesn't get her father's love because of that guilt. And through the years as she grows up, she starts working in her father's textile working business, and then ends up running it for him when health stuff collides and a catastrophe happens. And then they have to end up selling the business and moving away, and her engagement breaks up, and then this health problem starts, and she starts bleeding, and as you can imagine, like, just life is just spiraling down. And then she hears about this man called Jesus. So I won't give everything away, but it's a really good read. You'll want to read it. Okay, the next fiction book is called Love Arrives in Pieces. It's by Betsy St. Amant. And this book, the character is the female lead. She is a divorced woman. She's a former beauty pageant contestant and winner. And she got divorced. Her husband cheated on her, and he left her, and so there was this divorce that she didn't want it, and she's just broken on the inside and on the outside. She doesn't believe in love or faith. Who is she anymore? And then our other, the male lead, he's a construction worker, and he is just recovering from his fiance dying suddenly, and so he moves back to his hometown, which is where this takes place, and they both work on renovating a theater together. So sparks fly, and lots of things happen, and in the end, this whole story is about God using broken people and putting us back together to be something beautiful where He can shine His light through us. And so if you know anybody who's divorced or going through that, I think a lot of us could shake our heads yes. This book speaks life and truth into those situations, and it's really good. So you want to read this one too. All right, well, thank you for listening to my book reviews, and I hope you all read them. These are the 2018 books for Friends with Me. Thank you.